Hi everyone! Welcome to this new experimental concept. During my two main projects, I've been sharing my progress on YouTube through daily devlogs. I really enjoy doing this for so many reasons, but something has frustrated me a lot. I was constantly in advance on my development schedule compared to my YouTube video release schedule. You guys and girls always come up with awesome feedback and suggestions in the comments, and in most cases I had already wrapped up this part of the development, so I couldn't go back to it to take your feedback in consideration. This is especially true for my Game Jam project. I was working on it past November, so literally 3 months before you see the video. So as you were proposing more and more awesome suggestions, my frustration on the other side kept growing. So I decided that from now on, my YouTube schedule will always be more or less synchronized with my development schedule in order for me to be able to react to your suggestions and your feedback. But then I thought, what if we bring this to a whole new level? What if instead of me building my game, taking your feedback and suggestions in consideration, what if we literally build the game together? So if you're up to it, we will be building a game together for the next couple months, from its earliest stages to the final polish touches. Now, we are already 3,000 in this channel, and by the way, this is crazy, I still haven't realized it. So that means we have to stay organized if we don't want to end up with just another failed copy of a top-down shooter. I'm taking one of my first prototypes here as an example because that would be rude for anything else. I identified 3 main stages for this project. Let me introduce them to you. Stage 1. Defining the game's genre and mechanics. To prepare this video, I prepared a list of game genres I enjoy playing and mechanics I'm comfortable with. To be honest, I don't feel like working on a game from a genre I've never played. At the end of this video, I'll be picking 3 game genres at random from this list. For each of these genres, I'll be picking 3 game mechanics at random, thus generating 9 genre mechanics combinations. And I will submit all of these combinations to you through 3 polls in the community section of this channel, 1 poll for each game genre. These polls will stay active for a limited time, a few days typically, and the most upvoted genre combination of each poll will be competing again in a final poll. The final genre mechanic combination will help us narrow down the scope of the game, and we will have our game defined. Well, almost. In my creation process, I usually get a ton of ideas just by scrolling through the assets I could use. During this community project, we will be working with the Mini Fantasy assets, because first of all, I'm used to work with them, and their extreme versatility will allow us to create almost any 2D game we can imagine. So with the final genre mechanic combination poll, I will also publish a last poll with a selection of asset packs from the Mini Fantasy universe, and in this poll you will be voting for the asset pack that will play a central role in our game. Stage 2. The world's messiest brainstorming session. Once we have our game defined with a genre, mechanic, asset pack combination, we can finally start brainstorming. This will be a crucial phase where we want to define the game's key elements, like the core idea of the game, the objective, the main challenges the player will face, etc. I'll be developing this topic later in a dedicated video. At this point, I'll also open up a Discord server where those of you who want to take a more active role in this project can drop your ideas, suggestions, exchange with each other and myself. Stage 3. Developing the game. This is when I will finally start working on the game. I'll be publishing devlogs regularly on this channel, which will have the same format as my previous project's devlogs with day-to-day updates. By the way, if you found this channel through this video, I suggest you check out an episode of my previous devlogs. Every developer has its own style when it comes to devlogs, and you might want to make sure you enjoy watching me develop games before embarking on this project. However, this time when the videos hit YouTube, they will be up to date with my development, so I'll be able to react to your comments, suggestions and feedbacks in the YouTube comment section and in the Discord server. I'll also try to be regularly asking for your ideas and opinions, and I'll be posting all kind of polls in the Discord server. For example, I'm hesitating between a few behaviors for my enemy's AI. I'll create a poll to let you decide. I have no idea how to implement a specific mechanic. Maybe experienced developers in my community will have great advice on this topic. Which creature would best fit for a player companion? Poll. What looks better for the main menu? Poll. What soundtrack should I use for the battle stages? Poll. Paul, how should we design the main character's abilities? I'll open a new topic on the Discord server, let you discuss, and if multiple great ideas emerge, Paul. Just a short disclaimer section. There are a few points I prefer bringing up. This is a whole new concept for me, so you might not see it right here on camera, but I'm terrified right now. As I was reading your suggestions in my previous videos, I saw awesome ideas. However, in my perspective, most of them were way too complex to implement for the scope of the project. As I'm not sharing every technical aspect of the development, since I want to keep this channel accessible to everyone, trying to explain Unity or C# specific aspects is boring as hell. You won't have a clue on how your suggestion, as simple as it may seem, can actually be complicated to implement. Moreover, I'm still a beginner in game development. As flattered as I am by all your comments, I started game dev as a hobby in June 2023 and I went full-time in September, so my technical skills could also be a limitation in this project. But this is also why I'm starting this project, as I feel small projects make me progress 10 times faster than a huge 2-year development project. Talking about the development time, to this day, I have no idea how long I'll be working on this project. We can use my project Shepherd for Hire as a reference with 20 to 30 working development days. As I said, it's the best way for me to progress, but most importantly, if you enjoy this project, and if I do too, we could just start a new project when this one is complete. And who knows, maybe with a larger scope. So all of this combined, the fact you can't know how complex an addition can be, the fact I'm still a beginner, and the small scope of the project may lead to a lot of frustration. I'm pretty sure I won't be able to take all your suggestions in account. I'll mainly be selecting a limited number of suggestions and submitting them to the community through polls. As open as I'm trying to make this project to your suggestions, I might have to completely discard the idea you've been thinking of for 2 days and spend 30 minutes writing. And even if it gets selected, it might end up in the second place in the final poll. And finally, as I will be the only person in this project that has the insights on the technical aspects of the development, I will also sometimes be taking decisions on my own. I really hope you understand this, and I'm pretty sure you will, since this community is just awesome anyways. So yeah, thanks for your comprehension. Without further ado, let's start this new project with the first step, defining the game genre and mechanics. So let me place the game genres here in this cup. By the way, the rest of the video was framed by a 7-year-old kid, so excuse him. Well, no, it was me. I messed up here. It's the chicken cup and the mechanics here in the cat cup. Those are cats. So the idea here is to try coming up with interesting and innovative combinations. The most recent example I have in mind of this kind of combination is the game Friends vs. Friends. Who could have thought a first-person shooter could combine with a collectible card game? And this game is bloody awesome. So if one of the combinations I draw seems too boring. Here, by boring, I mean it has already been done like 1,000 times. For example, a dungeon crawler with roguelike mechanics. Or if the game mechanic is literally present in every game of the genre, like resource management for city builders, I'll just discard the combination and redraw. This is my concept after all. This might happen a few times since I've been through all the possible combinations, and some of them are indeed boring as hell. By the way, the line separating a game genre from a game mechanic is not a very straight red line, it's more of a blurry gray area. I had to make discussable choices, and feel free to discuss them in the comments. As long as it's respectful, I always enjoy reading you. Again, not all genres and mechanics are present here, because I'm not comfortable as a player with all genres. I think I spent a total of 2 hours on a racing game in my life, for example. And as a developer, some genres are also way more complex to build. Just a final point I wanted to mention, this will be a single player game. Developing a multiplayer game is way more complex, and for this first community project, I think the challenge is high enough right now. Alright, let's start the random selection now. Okay. This is where it's not scripted. So I'm going to improvise, I guess. First game genre. Ooh, I'm stressed as hell. What is this? Survival. Survival with exploration. When this mechanic is drafted, I'm thinking a heavy focus on exploration. Like, exploration has to be the main mechanic here, okay? So I don't know how this will work. It's also your job to think and find out ideas. Survival with resource management mechanics. Think production chains, goods coming in and out. So a survival game heavily focused on resource management. Third and last mechanic for this first poll, drafting. Okay, a survival game with drafting mechanics. So drafting is typically used in card games where you have a set of cards and you pick a few cards and then you give what you haven't picked to the other player. Here for a single player game, I was imagining drafting as like the player is regularly set with like choices to make between one perk or another perk. I don't know, natural disaster and another. Survival game with heavy drafting mechanics. Here we have our first poll. Survival with exploration, resource management, or drafting mechanics. You choose. Let's go with the second poll. So I'm putting the mechanics back in the cat cup. Second game genre. Okay. It's a farming sim. Farming simulator. Like farming simulator. Yeah, I can't come up with any more ideas. I was hesitating between a farming sim and a life sim, but I think with a life sim, the scope is like way too big and you can add so many different things. So just a farming sim with RNG/dices. I have no idea how you would do this. Like literally no idea, but that's the point of the concept. I pick stuff and you think. Second mechanic here for the farming sim. Resource management. I guess that's boring, right? But maybe I'm wrong? I don't know. I think we can have way better than resource management for a farming sim, so no, not in there. I'll set it aside right now. Second mechanic for the farming sim. Explorate. Wait a sec, let me just, I'm sorry, but... Okay. Farming sim, second mechanic. Hex board. Alright, this is interesting. Now we're getting somewhere. And lastly, farming sim with deck builder. Alright, why not? That really sounds interesting though. Yeah, there's a whole world to explore with this combination. Okay, so a farming sim with a heavy focus on RNG/dices, a hex board setup, or a deck builder farming sim. Let's go. Last game genre. A dungeon crawler. Alright, interesting. So many more genres I would have liked. You know, next time. Next project. Resource management. A dungeon crawler with resource management mechanics. Okay, I know this can sound crazy, but I do actually have a few ideas in mind for this and it would be awesome. And I can't wait to see what you come up with. Dungeon crawler with second mechanic here. Automation. Oh yeah, let's go. They're kind of similar, but I guess the final result could still be very different. Last and final game genre mechanic combination. Crawler with exploration mechanics. Like in a dungeon crawler, you're basically exploring. Boring. Dungeon crawler with do I really want RNG/dices? No one saw this. Dungeon crawler with a hex board. Yeah, that's already been done like so many times. I can't compete against Gloomhaven. Boring. Dungeon crawler with deck builder elements. Okay, that's interesting too. So many possible combinations, like, it's so frustrating. We could have had dungeon crawler with, well, roguelike is boring, but we could have had dungeon crawler with turns. Well, that's boring too. We could have had dungeon crawler with drafting mechanics. We could have had dungeon crawler with crafting mechanics. We could have had dungeon crawler with base building mechanics. We could have had so many combinations in this whole concept. We have to narrow down the combinations to make the polls enjoyable. So the final here game genre combination is a dungeon crawler with a heavy focus on resource management, a dungeon crawler with a heavy focus on automation, or a dungeon crawler with deck builder as its main mechanic. You decide. So we just generated 3 very interesting polls. If these combinations made ideas pop out in your mind, feel free to drop them in the comments below to try convincing the others to vote for your personal preference. The polls are running live in the community section of this channel. I'll link it in the description anyways, and you have until Monday the 19th, 12 p.m. to add your votes to the polls. I'll then be locking the polls with screenshots because I don't think YouTube has an option for that. And next Thursday, in 1 week, I'll open the final poll and the Mini Fantasy asset poll with a small dedicated video. Alright, here we are. I'm way too excited for this project, and I'm also stressed out as hell. So if you're new here and you want to be a part of this project, you might want to subscribe to this channel, since the polls will be running for a very limited amount of time, so that might help you stay informed of the appearance of a new poll. I can't wait to see your votes. See you next week, and start preparing to press play. A genre I've never played. Oh, oui. T'es où? Je suis en train de tourner là-haut.
Dis bonjour. Dis bonjour. Voilà.
Alright, where were we? Roguelike mechanics. Oh,
Chut, tais-toi. Tais-toi.
oh non, tu vas pas manger tout de suite. Putain. C'est pas l'heure de manger. Non. Il retourne. C'est pas possible.
Dépêche-toi de finir tes croquettes. Dépêche-toi.